Hello everyone and welcome to What's It Like? I have had the privilege to have seen my guest live on stage. I have seen her amazing work and the response from people she has helped. TJ Higgs is a psychic medium and is well known for her appearances on the successful Psychic Private Eye series on CBS and Zone Reality, which led her to help many families with missing and murdered family members worldwide. Her massive TV and stage appearances include The Three Mediums, Living TV, and Colin Fry Live with TJ Higgs, Living TV. She tours her shows and teaches courses all around the world and has written some pretty amazing books. Let's meet Miss TJ Higgs. What's it like to be a psychic medium? Hello TJ, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Cheryl. Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome. I'm so looking forward to this. And the viewers are going to really enjoy this one as well, I think, because there's a lot of, excuse the pun, mystic around all of this, and I think that maybe you'll be able to put us a little bit sort of right on some things and let us know. So my first question is, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
I am what they would term, I am a psychic medium, which means I can read people's lives and I can also communicate with spirit people. So I can communicate with those that you love. That have passed over. I spend my life really educating people on mediumship and psychics, and I work all over the world doing that. As far as Japan, I spend a lot of time in Japan, New Zealand, America now as well. So I'm really, really lucky, and obviously at home in the UK. So yeah, I educate people on the afterlife, if you like. That's a good way of putting it.
Brilliant quote. Can you recall your first ever experience that made you realise you had the ability? And what was it like?
Okay, that's interesting because I thought everybody could do what I could do, you see. So from being really little, I'm a natural medium, so I was born like it, like Lady Gaga, born this way. And I love that song. And so I thought everyone was strange, you know, when my pops, who'd passed over when I was just 2.5, nearly 3, I was very close with him. He's my nan's dad. So when he was in the living room and people would sit on him, I used to be screaming at them to get off him, you know. And then I learned very young not to talk about it really, because the adults around me didn't really like the fact that I might be speaking about the dead people, you know. Okay. So I kind of put it to the back really of my mind, of my life. It definitely took the back shelf until I was 26, and then it just all started. I mean, there was things happening. There's a story when I was being about 12, 13, you know, that sort of age. We had a Jack Russell called Pepsi, and if she was blue, you didn't touch her, because for me it meant she'd bite me. She was in a mood. I didn't touch her. If she was green, I could play with her. And I had a stepbrother, Colin, who's now passed, and but Colin used to touch her when she was blue, so she used to bite him. And I used to think, you're an idiot. Why are you touching the dog? She's blue. You don't touch her when she's blue. She bites. And I wrote all this in my first book, Living with a Gift. And I was talking to Colin about it then, and he said the dog was brown and white. It was a Jack Russell, so she was never blue or green. So I just thought people were stupid, you know. It's like, why are you doing that, you know? So for me it was just so natural. So it's always been there. I've heard voices giving me warnings when I was younger, which I ignored to my detriment really. So yeah, it's like breathing for me. It's just very normal, very natural.
Natural and normal, yeah. And what do you think people's stereotypes are of someone who is a medium or a psychic? What are their stereotypes?
Obviously we're the gypsy Rosalies, you know. I'm sorry I'm not wearing my bangles this morning or my big earrings. And I think I think there's a lot of, it's getting better, but there's been a lot of misbelief in us. And obviously in all professions there's people that are pretending, you know, the charlatans in all walks of life, aren't there, you know. So I think that hasn't done us any good. And the talk of ghosts, which I don't like that term, there's been television shows where you know, and back when we were kids, you know, all those sort of Vincent Price movies, you know, with the ghosts and the mystic, that's what people associate with somebody like me. Because I'm a medium, they associate with ghosts, and then they associate with television and with Hollywood and films. So I don't think we've had a lot of good publicity, and especially as it was classed as illegal. We were not allowed to do what I do. Even during World War II, a very famous medium called Helen Duncan was imprisoned for doing this, you know. So and then Winston Churchill used to go and visit her and ask her questions, you know. So it's like, he probably put her in jail, so he's got an audience with her, because she's a very busy girl, you know. So I think people are frightened a lot of times when people meet me. They're like, "Can you read my mind?" You know. And I even went on the Eggheads show. Do you know the Eggheads TV show? Yeah. I went on with a team called Psychics Are Us, and I beat the Brain of Britain in my round, which I was very proud of. And they said, "Are you going to read his mind?" And I was like, "I'm not brave enough to do that," you know. So I do understand, so it doesn't offend me, you know. So because some people just don't know, and it's bad education, really. Right. That's the thing.
So,
you know.
So tell us what the reality of being a medium is. What do you think the reality of it is compared to the stereotypical?
For me, the reality is I reunite people with their loved ones, and I don't like the word proof, because I don't give proof, I give evidence, you know. So people will tell the departed, if you like, will that's a word that's always used, will give me information and evidence of their family and their loved ones.
And I don't know if I'm supposed to say Alf or Ralph, because I heard that name really quick, so I've kind of got that kind of name going on in my head. Ralphie, Alfie, that kind of name. Hello, sweetheart, what do you understand?
My dad's name was Alfie and my mum's name's Margaret.
And I bring that back, because the job of a medium really is to give evidence that life continues, to take a little bit of the fear of death away as well, do you know. So because we can all guarantee we're all going to do that, you know. As much as we were born, the last stage is our passing. So, and I think a lot of mediums, you know, a lot of the beautiful people I know that are out there working, and you may never ever hear about their names, you know, they are quietly, silently working, you know, bringing a lot of comfort and a lot of closure to people, you know. So I think our role is positive, and it's not always been seen to be like that. A lot of the time I've been sort of accused of, you know, well, I won't use the words that I've been accused of, but basically taking advantage of people that have lost loved ones, you know. So we definitely don't take advantage, you know. We give out, I gave up a career to do this, you know, to dedicate my time, and every good medium I know, that's their motivation is to help people. That's our purpose, if you like, you know.
It's a little bit like a teacher, isn't it? You're going for a profession to kind of help out, you know, and to educate. I think that's exactly what it is. So, you know, and I think you know, you have the ability to, if you have the ability to do that in whatever job or walk of life you do, then that's good. But then people expect that you should be paid for it, and I think that that's wrong, because it's a job like anything else. You have to earn a living, and if this is your skill, that is what, and the demand is there, like any job, then it's very important that, you know, you get paid to do it. What for you have been the most memorable reactions from the public about any of your readings you've done? What's been the most memorable time?
I have so many, I think, and you know, one thing is, every time I do this, it excites me. Every time I get information for my clients, I get excited about it. So, and the minute I don't, then I don't think I should be doing it anymore, you know, because I'm still very passionate about it, and I've done, I don't know how many thousands of readings. But I've been the middleman, if you like, because I am the word medium means to be in the middle, you know. So I am the messenger. And a lovely gentleman quite a few years ago now came in, and who did not believe in this whatsoever. He didn't believe. He came through, told me he didn't believe. So his daughter's sitting in front of me, and his dad's there, who doesn't believe in all this nonsense, you know. But he's still, you know, that expression, "I wouldn't be seen dead in this room," you know. It's sort of like, okay, you are, sir, you know. Gave information about he actually passed with bowel cancer, and his information for his daughter was you need to go to the hospital, because she was at the very, very beginnings with polyps, which could have then gone on to develop as bowel cancer.
Yeah.
And he gave her that information, and she did report back to me. We actually became very good friends, Sue and I, because she reported back to me, because the consultant was like, well, why do you even think this? And she was like, well, you know, my psychic told me. And luckily she could afford private healthcare, and I think they were very surprised to find that her father had absolutely diagnosed her and, you know, quite possibly saved her life. You know, and that was one of the very first. And there's things they show you, do you know, like even with this COVID, did you know it was happening? Do you know, did you know COVID was going to happen in the world? Did you know this? I wish I knew everything, because you know, wouldn't I be great? But they show you things very subtly. I was shown one massive memory for me, and I did write about it, and I had permission to talk about it from the family as well. Was a lady came to see me. Her mum came in to tell me that all about her family, her daughter, her 4 sons, her husband. And I don't really work with a crystal ball. I know people expect that, but I do have them, because they're very pretty. I love them. You know, I love crystals because they're pretty, not really. But my crystal ball looked like it was moving, and I'm just going to bring the ball to the table because something's going on. And she'd known me, this woman, because before her mum had passed, I'd actually met mum. You know, so it was like being reunited with her. But the ball was moving, and when I looked into the crystal ball, it was fluorite, so it's greens and blues and purples. You know, so it's not clear crystal. And in the ball, there were turtles drowning. So I'm thinking, what does that mean? Turtles drowning in water. So I'm thinking, that's not good. You know, if a turtle can't swim in the water, there's no way I could. And her mum was telling her that she mustn't go on holiday at Christmas. They've booked a holiday. You must not go. And so I'm just passing this information over, and you know, they believe in me, the family believe in me, so it's credible. And her mum is telling her, so Barbara's taken that home. So if, you know, and she always says, if I tell her not to do something, you know, she's going to trust me. She goes home to her husband. He's not really very happy, because they've spent a lot of money on a holiday that's going to happen at Christmas. So, and they have a home abroad. So they were advised to go there to Portugal, not to go. They never told me where they were going. And I don't really watch the news, because I get too involved in it. It becomes very stressful for me. You know, I'm so sensitive. I can't do it, you know? But on Boxing Day, my work mobile just kept ringing and ringing and ringing. And I wouldn't normally leave it on. So I saw the name come up. So I answered. And I was thanked for saving the family's life. And I was thinking, oh yeah, you were told not to go somewhere for Christmas, you know. And he said they would have been on PP in Thailand, right in the center of the tsunami. And I didn't know what a tsunami was, to be completely honest. I did not have a clue. You know, we're not educated on that really in England, are we? You know, it's not. No. And he said they would have been right in the center of that, and thank you for saving. Now, I didn't know the turtles were drowning, so to me that was a warning. But I can't, you know, I'm not going to say I said tsunami, because I didn't. It's
like glimpses of something that you can see that that kind of have to be connected to whatever the person will connect it. Is that what you're saying? That
exactly. We a good medium will work a lot with their vocabulary, you know, and I hope it's okay, because I'd like to share your character Hev from EastEnders as being this is and I'm going to share it because it was so cool. Well, not that she was killed, because we'd like you back in EastEnders, so they need to rewrite your twin sister. But no, the way that you were killed in EastEnders, you know, your character was killed, say it like that sounds awful. Well, I always watch soaps. So if something's going to happen, you know, because they reach so many different experiences, don't they? You know, in little spaces. So I watched that, and about maybe less than 2 weeks later, I was on stage and I was giving evidence, and all of a sudden I can see that situation where you're on the floor, where the picture, you know, your scenario in the TV show is playing in my mind, and I'm describing this to this lovely lady, and it was actually her son that had been killed. but it was an accident, even though it was in anger, as your character's death was in anger. It was exactly that for the client, for the lovely spirit boy was showing me you're passing as heaven to his mum. And
do you know what, T? I've actually got hairs gone up on my arms. I'm seriously sitting here going, and I kind of want to cry, but it's very strange. Yeah. And it's not because I'm thinking about the character. I'm thinking about the young lad, the boy. Yeah. And it's a weird thought. It's a weird thing to be connected to something so real from something, a program that isn't real, really. But, and that's weird.
But by me watching, you on television, that gave me vocabulary. So that young man knew, TJ's watched that. My mum's coming. I just have to show TJ that my mum is going to get the evidence that I'm okay. So it's all I'm cold as well. But it's kind of it's weird how they show us stuff. A lot of people say, why don't they just materialize in front of you and say, oh, I'm Bob and that's my auntie, and whatever. But it doesn't work like that.
People have that kind of thought that it's like the film Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg. They think that you can see hundreds of people standing in a room waiting in line or not waiting in line to get through to somebody who's in the room. And I mean, as much as you like to sort of watch that and think that may be the case, I don't know if people do use mediumship like that. I don't know, but I find it great that you're able to sort of express what kind of really happens in your terms for you, because I think it's not about, like you said, it's not about saying, I mean, you may be able to describe certain things about somebody by what you're being given, but at the same time, it is about connecting it with the person who's having the reading, isn't it? It's the connection between, they will know, they will understand.
Yeah. Some of the things I say, even I and when I teach, I always say, whatever you get, you must say, because if you miss a bit, it's not it. And I even was silly and didn't take my own advice. Did the 3 mediums with Colin and Derek.
Please welcome the quite extraordinary talents of TJ Higgs.
And we were being filmed. There was like 3,500 people in the audience, and I was kind of like, oh my God, what am I doing here? And one of the and because I was aware of being filmed, I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna have to be careful how I say things, and I don't swear, and I'm not rude or crass, but I just let them talk. So it's their voice, their words, but because I was being filmed and I felt a little bit under pressure, I would bought a young lad. It's actually on my YouTube if anybody wants to have a look at it. And he'd only been gone for 12 weeks, this young boy, 10 or 12 weeks, this young boy. But he came in and he was brilliant and his evidence was brilliant. And then he started saying meow, and it's meow like this. And then he was saying, it's not the cat, it's me. So, and I'm thinking, I'm being filmed. I can't, I thought, oh, it's all about me. I can't be doing silly face. I can't do that on television,
Well,
and
somebody did it in the Big Brother house, didn't he? What's his face was doing it in the Big Brother house. George and Rula Lenska were having a cat moment, weren't they? All cameras are on you there, and I know that one.
I was just thinking. Well, I didn't want to. I thought I'll present it better, So I said, he's telling me about the cat. So immediately she said, we don't have a cat. And I was like, oh no. And then it's it's kind of weird, but I love it because then the audience sort of drop and they're like, oh, she's wrong, But I'm not. He wasn't wrong. I was wrong. So I said, okay, I'll show you. So then I had to do that. And she went, oh, I used to walk around the house doing that. So because I changed it, it was, so you can't change it. You've got to say, I mean, you've seen me demonstrate and you saw what I had to do for your friends.
I mean, I will sort of go on to that in a bit, but you can't. I mean, I've sort of said at the beginning, I remember seeing you live. And what I found amazing about you was that you just came in, you kicked off your shoes. So you looked presentable as you appeared in the theatre. You thought, okay, she looks presentable. And then you could just see her going, I'm not comfortable with my shoes on. I can't be bothered with this. I'm flinging my shoes off. I want to feel like I'm at home here. And that was the amazing thing about your that evening, was how and you didn't know that we were in the audience actually at that point, which was great. It couldn't be seen. But what was great was you just literally talked to people like you were in their front rooms with them. It was an experience. And I've been to see a few sort of mediums and psychics and been to places and seen it, and kind of have never felt, if I'm in all honesty, that kind of almost like you were talking to me, even though you weren't talking to me. You were talking to at one point there was a lovely lady who was sitting in a balcony, and you were talking to that family, but it wasn't like I was even watching television. I just felt like I'd been transported, and a bit voyeur, there was a bit of a voyeur where I was actually watching, like you were in a street peeking behind a curtain or something, watching something. It was an incredible feeling, and something I have to say, I hadn't never experienced in any of the other things that I've been to see before. So for me, it was a much different experience, and from that moment, I kind of thought, you know what, this is what this woman is what mediumship, psychicness is about, and I really would like many more people to see what you're doing. But has there been any moments for you that you just thought to yourself, I don't want to do this anymore for people, I don't want to do it?
No, not really. Not that I don't want to do it. People can get, I think it's the skeptics really that kind of can get very abusive, so I went through a little bit of time like that when I first went onto television. My website was hacked by a group of people that were really abusive, and I just thought, do I want to do this? Because now it means I'm going to be a public medium. I never set out to be what they call me, a celebrity medium, and I find that very difficult because I'm just me, and so I think there was a time when I had to kind of get over that, and that I actually had come to the point where I thought, this is my last day of readings, I'm not going to do this anymore. And I was trying to put that into process. And I read for this beautiful girl, and again, the family are in my book, because her dad came through, and it was the 6th of January, her reading. And I'll never forget that, because I'm still in touch. Every year I message her mum on the 3rd of January, because on the 3rd of January, Roy went back to spirit. And 3 days later, this gentleman is giving me and his daughter evidence that he's okay. And he wanted it, and he was calling, I want to talk to Barb, I want to talk to Barb. So that was his wife. And she wrote me a beautiful letter and said, you must never, they didn't know it was my last, they didn't know I'd got that in my head. And the letter she sent me was, you must never, ever stop doing this, because you've given me a reason to live without him, because I know he's okay. So, so every time, if I ever think, should I carry on? She's in my mind, and they're still in my life, and we're talking 12 years later, they're still in my life.
Yeah. That, I mean, kind of, there's a message for you then, wasn't there? Do you know what I mean? That was something, somebody somewhere was looking after you. I hear the word guardian angels and your guardians. I heard that quite early on when I got into this a little bit. I was told I had a dog that I had in the spirit world, a dog when I was little, that there is actually, I do have a picture of Bobby in my pram. And I used to have these feelings of, I never had a dog at the time, but I used to have these feelings of something pressing down on my bed. And I used to think, this is a very strange, like something heavy had dropped on my bed. And it wasn't until I seen this, and he was a psychic, and he was in Peckham. He was a psychic, and he was very old and dead now. I was a student, and he was basically, he said, you've got this spirit guy, this dog. And he described Bobby like to a T, and it was just comforting, if anything else, through my sort of some parts of that moment when I was having a little trouble, that he was looking after me. And it might have just been a dog. So, I mean, all those things are true, are they? Are they true?
Yeah, absolutely true.
Right.
We're looked after. I mean, I believe when I was working on the subject of guides, because I'd worked with different people, different mediums, they all had different ideas. So I asked my guide Luke, who's been with me since I was born and beyond, because my guides are part of me. So when we talk about past lives, past existences, my guides are all parts of me from before. And that made perfect sense, because I'm a bit of a control freak, so I wouldn't want, and I have a lot of male guides,
Right.
you know, so I really wouldn't be the kind of woman that would want men telling me what to do all through my lifetime.
Right.
Animals, I have animals in spirit myself, and when one of our cats passed, the other cats all laid on the sofa, and there was just a beautiful glow where she would have normally been,
Right.
and you could feel that she's back. And somebody asked me once, a lot in Japan, they asked me about their animals, and they've been told they've gone to the animal kingdom, and I was like, I could not imagine my animals being with the lions and the tigers, and you know, that to me is the animal kingdom. And so no, I have evidence myself of that. And people that you've loved before will come and look after you, do you know, so your nans would look after you, and it's really like just almost anyone can do it. You can just almost pick up your phone in your mind, you know, and sort of dial somebody you've loved, and just really sit, and not even quietly, do you know, just sit and have a chat with them, because you're drawing, as if you phone them, you're drawing them close, you know. And
I mean, you're talking about the courses and things. You teach courses in various countries that you visit all over the world. Can mediumship be taught, and does everybody have the ability, or to learn it?
Everybody is psychic. We've all got that part of ourselves. We can all feel people. You can, and you know, there's some people you meet out there and you think, oh, you know, or someone you meet and think, oh, lovely, you know. So that's your psychic self, and my psychic self is just has been to the gym quite a lot, you know. So you know, so it's been in heart. That's how I look at it. I use it all the time, and clearly
I've got to work on mine, DJ.
No, the body is a different story. But the mediumship part, see, there's a lot of sort of old stuff where if you weren't born under the 7th moon, or you're not the seventh, and all these kind of mystical, you know, sorry, my word would be nonsense, you know, because I am what they would call a natural medium. I was born like this, and I decided somewhere before I came that this was going to be my vocation. So, and most days I am very, very happy about that, you know. And I would say, you know, more 99.9%, you know. But I have students that they've lost somebody, and then they've started to explore, you know. So they've sort of had they want to know where their family member is, so they've started to develop to sense and feel. And the thing is, if you have had a perfect life and you've never had anything happen to you, and wow, wouldn't that be amazing, then mediumship would be quite difficult, because it's almost like, I feel like your soul has to be stressed a little bit, you know, and it has to have some kind of trauma for you to be able to reach to that. That's how I would explain it. And every student, I kind of get students that don't fit anywhere else, you know, so because I don't train them to be like me, I guide them to be themselves, you know, because we've all got, as I talk about vocabulary, different experiences, you know. So if you said, right, I want to, it's not really training, but I want to sit and I want to dedicate my life to spirit because I want to help people, because I want that to be my purpose. Spirit are not going to walk past and say, oh, but she was born under the wrong moon, you know. So, is she the 7th child? You know, they're not going to look like that. They're going to look at you and say, what trauma has your soul had? What experiences do you know? How can you help people? You know, so and there are some people that do it for the wrong reasons, obviously, because if I get a student that says they're training with me because they want to be famous, they don't come back the week after, because I don't entertain that at all, you know.
It's interesting, because I think a lot of viewers watching won't realize that I mean, we all have feelings of things. I can go, for example, wherever I live, whatever house I've lived in, I normally have the male person in my life, or my husband's or whatever, going round and checking that, you know, is it damp, is it thingy, and, you know, do the floorboards rot? And me, I go round the house going, can I live in this? Has anybody, what's the feeling of living in here? And I've literally gone to look at houses when I've gone to buy a house and couldn't even step through the door, because I didn't feel, I felt it was dark. I felt something was not quite right about it. And I don't know what it was. It was a total feeling. And, you know, even though they were decorated lovely, and, you know, had the lovely modern kitchen and all this, I just thought, I can't even go any further. I don't want to be
Yeah.
here. And I think you have to trust those instincts in yourself, don't you? I guess the courses, which then would obviously go on further, is about trusting your own instinct and your own ability to then crack on further to things that you think, oh, it's like putting your foot in the water, isn't it? It's a little bit like, do I put the foot in the water?
Yeah.
Oh, I can paddle now, and eventually you got to your knees, and eventually you can swim. It's kind of like that, isn't it? Yeah.
And it's also knowing the difference between psychic and medium, because there's psychic energy. You know, you could have walked into a house. A few years ago, I was invited to clear a spirit. A friend asked me if I'd go. I don't normally do this, but he said where his girlfriend was working, there was definitely a spirit. It felt horrible when he couldn't explain it. So I go, and it was a salon. It was a beautician's. Lots of lovely rooms. It was beautifully done. And as soon as I walked in, couldn't feel spirit. So there wasn't any spirit. People were not kind of saying hello or anything. But I walked into one room, and I felt as if I was just going to cry my eyes out. So I came out, all the beauticians there was about 7 or 8 of them. And I just looked at one, I said, that's your room, yes? And she said, oh, yes, you know. So I said, well, whatever you're holding on to, whatever emotions you're holding on to, and obviously I wouldn't have said it in front of everybody, but you need to release those, because you're building up such a tension and such an emotional energy in your room. Everybody that's coming in there is finding it hard.
Right.
And all the others were like, that is the only room that feels bad, as they were saying. So it had nothing to do with spirit. It was her energy.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah,
you could walk into a house, couldn't you, if you're buying a house where they've got divorced, or there's just been a lot of trauma and a lot of pain, being sensitive, you're going to feel that. But the spirit world don't even have to be around, you know. And I used to do a column years ago when I started in Spirit and Destiny magazine called Psychic House Detective.
Oh, I haven't. Spirit and Destiny, I haven't bought that since I was a student.
Really? Well, I used to have columns in there when I had time, and I went along to this house, and myself, the writer, and the camera guy we walked in, and this house wasn't taken care of, basically, and it was brand new, so the family had been housed. There was animals everywhere, and it was 2 big dogs and all sorts. And so the guy, he was sort of in his 60s. The girlfriend was 21 and pregnant, and had already had a child with him at 16. So there was quite a lot going on in that house. But I wouldn't have judged. If she loves him, that's fine. As soon as I arrived, her nan is right on me, you know. And so I'm thinking, God, you can't be causing all this, because apparently there was things coming off the walls. So I was excited, because I'm like, I'd like to see this, because I don't see it. Let me see it. So in I go. He said when they open the fridge door, things would fall off the top of the fridge, like things were thrown off the top of the fridge. So I was like, okay, we go in the kitchen, myself, the writer, and the photographer. And so I opened the fridge door, and no lie, it couldn't have been cleaned, because you know when you have to really like drag a fridge door.
Yes.
So the things on top came down, and he's outside the door. See, did you hear that? And I'm like, it's a dirty fridge. If the fridge was clean, it wouldn't be doing that, you know. So I'm like trying to be really sort of I'm here for the day. So I go upstairs, and they said that there was they'd put a bookcase on the wall, and the bookcase had come down on top of them. It was over their bed. It had come down on top of them. And you know, I'm a psychic, but I am a normal person, and I'm looking at the walls, and you know, just give them a little tap, and plasterboard walls, and he's put this heavy old bookcase, as shelving on this wall with the wrong raw plugs. So I had to say to him, that you've done that. It's going to come down. You filled these shelves up. You've made them heavy. And he was like, it's definitely spirit. It's definitely spirit. And I'm like, spirit and not, you know, the only spirit here is the nan that's kind of not impressed with the relationship, which I can't then put across because I'm working for the magazine.
Oh, that's all about funny. I mean, it turned from psychic to sort of one day DIY, didn't it? DIY makeover. I think I did say to him, you need Handy Andy or somebody like that to come and fix it. You don't need a psychic, love, you know. So it's amazing
what Spirit of Black, because there was also, I did a live radio, you know, I'm quite comfortable doing live stuff, you know, I know what I'm talking about. And this man he'd been to this castle and there was a baby crying and so he said the baby was crying in this castle because the mother had been raped and it was a product and she was one of the serving staff and and I was sitting there listening and thinking, what is this man on? He'd heard a baby cry and made this whole story up, you know. And so I was just then, because you've got to keep it real, you know. So I said, but if I walk down my street and I hear a baby crying, I'm not thinking, oh my God, your mother must have been raped and that's your product of that, you know. And so I'm really, and everywhere I teach, I try and get people to keep it real, you know, when they're talking about demonic stuff. And one place they kind of needed that a lot when I started working there was in Japan, because they were frightened of spirit, you know, the spirit people. So the way I describe it, you know, and I teach huge rooms of students, and so I say to all of them, okay, I want everybody all look at each other. So obviously through an interpreter, I'm not that good at I can do coffee. I live on that. They all looked at each other. I said, right, okay, so one day we will all be the spirit world. So are there any demons? Can you know, there might be a few dodgy people in the room, you know, but nobody really to be completely scared of. And then the whole room relaxes before we start, you know, because it again, it's what's been written. So a lot of the times they believe it, you know. Some of the things,
it's vivid imagination and everything that we've been portrayed in the media that is not educationally right. That's what it is.
Exactly.
It's just it's kind of, it's not fact, it's fiction, a lot of it, isn't it? And that's the problem. Have you ever censored what you said in a reading to any of your clients to protect them or to? No. Wow.
I don't. No. I would on stage. So if I was presenting to an audience, then I might say, I have a few more things I need to say to you, so please, I'll either ask for them to be brought to the dressing room, or I will ask them to wait and speak to me at the end, because I need to tell them something, because I'm not going to use stuff like that to look good, you know. So
and also that is that although it is private and people are there for private reading, they're in a public place, aren't they? And you don't want to, if there's something quite traumatic or something quite amazing to tell them, you don't really want the world knowing it in that respect, you know.
Exactly. I'm very
really
private.
That's good. That's a good kind of policy, I think. And I think it's one that not a lot of people do respect in the psychic world. They don't respect that. Like you said, they may use that for their entertainment value, or for their own upping themselves a bit more, you know, giving themselves a bit of
absolutely.
I think it's wrong.
But if you're in my room though, then we're private. You've given me permission. And I remember a gentleman once saying, I didn't give you permission to look at my soul because of something he'd been through. And I said, but you did, because you're sitting here. And even if I read for, you know, I could read for one of my friends and there could be stuff that I never talk about it. You know, it's, and you probably noticed I said when you saw me, but I would never talk about what I said. Half the time I can't remember it, but it's your story to tell, not mine.
Yes, absolutely.
When Colin, Derek and I did the 3 mediums, and we had a photo shoot with OK magazine, and we were interviewed with OK, which is very glamorous. I love that.
It's very glamorous, OK,
Well, they were giving us pink champagne, which is my favourite, but I daren't drink it because afterwards. But I was taken away, and I think it was one of the biggest interview, you know, biggest magazine interview that I'd done, and they were all trying to manage me, and I was like, no, I'm fine. I'll, you know, and the guy, the reporter, was saying, so asked me lots of lovely questions, then said, so have you read for celebrities or famous people? So I was like, yeah, I have. So he said, well, tell me about it, and I was like, no. And he said, this is OK magazine, and and I was like, I don't care. But he was like, but people want to know. And I was like, it's none of their business. And I put it to him, because I said, I said to the reporter, I said, if I read for you right now and I tell you something very, very personal about yourself, do you want me to then go out and tell everybody else? Shall I tell the crew? Shall I tell everybody about you? And he was like, well, no. So I said, exactly.
The same thing.
If I've read for celebrities, and I've read for a lot of people, and I've also read for members of the royal household as well. But it's no one's business. If they talk about it, absolutely fine. You know, I think.
Yeah. It's really important that people trust you, because the thing is, it's not about you just have one reading with you. You may have several readings with you, and because although you may know things, like for example, there's going to be a question which is, well, if you read, I hate the word celebrity. I can't bear the word. If you read people who are well known, faces on the telly, whatever, well known people. Yeah. If you read for them, you could Google a lot of that. So what makes you different? How does that work? Because that's the cynics of people going, oh, there's so much on Google now, and we tell the famous people tell everything about their lives, and the thing is, it's not about that, is it? I think it's where you can guide them for certain things that are maybe happening in their lives at that moment in time, or about to happen, or it's that, isn't it? It's not like this is your life. You're not Eamon Andrews' red book. Do you know what I mean? God rest his soul. You're not him. But
I've come across that before, where I read for a lady whose mum was actually very, very famous. But I got the list of the names of the people I would be reading for, and a lovely friend of mine had organised this in Sussex Gardens, you know, behind Paddington in London. Yes. So I've gone along and I've got the list. So the first lady comes in, and I called her the name that was on the list, and I only had first names anyway. And she said, "Oh no, that's not my name. This is my name." So I was like, "Okay, I'm really, really sorry." Anyway, went on to do the reading, and it was quite surreal, because there was her mum was kind of into a sort of try not to say she's, but like a fashion brand, if you like. And there was bags with her. So I was like, but your mum showed me that, but that's not her name, you know. So if I was reading cold like that, I would have believed that was her mum's name, you know. Right. Anyway, so her mum gave me her real name, and she did say, she said, and I hadn't quite finished yet, and she said, but you could have Googled all that about me, so tell me something that that I couldn't have Googled. So I was like, hold on, I haven't finished yet. Yeah. So anyway, so then I carried on, and she was like, that definitely wouldn't be in Google. And she said, and I'm trusting that will not be shared.
Go anywhere else. Yeah, absolutely.
It will not, you know. So then I think she was like, oh my God, you know, she's definitely talking to my mum.
But I mean, that's the thing. I think what people need to just check, that it's about the guidance you can give them at that point in time. And you may have to show evidence to them, as you call it, you know. But I think I think what people need to do is to see that it's something to take on as not even warnings, but it's something that you're in control of your destiny. Last question. So how does your job affect your family and your friends, do you think?
You've met my partner, Stuart. He really supports me, obviously, and he comes out and works with me. My two sons are like me, so they are very mediumistic. So my youngest one lives with me, so he's always, when I'm away somewhere, he'll be like, "Mum, they're here. Can you tell them to leave me alone, please?" So right. He's also one of UK's strongest men at the moment. Yes, so that's my baby.
I'll tell you what, you can come around mine and open a jar of gherkins anytime. That'd be cool.
He's very good for that. But it kind of affected me a little bit with my mum, who's now passed. She didn't have a lot to do with me because of this, and it's the reason that I'm not in touch with all my family is not to do with just my work, but I think you have to make decisions in life, don't you? And if your family members, even though they're blood related, you know, there's always a place in my heart for them, but there doesn't have to be a place in my life for them.
Oh, that's so true. So true. I mean, absolutely. And I think that's the guilt thing that people feel in a family situation. And to be guilt free of this kind of situation, you have to realize that it's not that you don't think about those people or love those people, it's just that they're not part of what you're doing now. And I think no matter whatever they've done or whatever they think, or that, you know, whether your politics are different, whether that, you know, you feel like they've done something to injustice you. It's not about what they've done. It's just they don't fit in what you're doing.
Yeah.
They don't fit within your box, if you have a box. They're not in it, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think a lot of people live with that, don't they? You know, just all walks of life, you know. And I think friendship wise, I have some amazing, beautiful friends all over the world as well, you know, so I'm very blessed. And one thing with this, I get a lot of people telling me, you know, sending me their love and things like that. And it's only recently, I mean, I've turned 50 now, I've just kind of realized there are people in this world that love me that don't have to. And I think, wow, that's you know, isn't that a blessing? Do you know, when people love and care about you?
Do you know what? I hadn't thought about that. I mean, I'm always on any of my social media, I'm always humbled and very blessed that people support me in what I do. They don't have to do that. They don't have to send those positive vibes to you, do they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I think for my children, the biggest gift of my gift of giving is that they understand that life, you know, that when life comes to an end, when death comes, it's not the end, and they know they can still connect with me, and it actually took the fear of death away from my children as well. And that's one of the most beautiful things in my work as well, you know. Amazing. Everybody, you all have to just follow this lady, not literally, as I said, not down the street, don't stalk her, but you've written some amazing books, which I have had the privilege to read, and you've worked with some amazing people, it's just TJ is just a gift, everyone. She's a gift that keeps giving. Everyone, please just take a look at this lady. She is amazing, and if you need any help in the world of anything, this is the lady to get in touch with. She's amazing. TJ, thank you so much for your time and your amazing educational insight into the world of psychic and mediumship. Thank you very much. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, darling.
Thank you to my amazing guest, Miss TJ Higgs. What a fascinating insight into the world of mediumship. For more information about TJ's work and how you can get a reading or join a course, please contact all of her social media. I want to thank you all for watching and your continued support. To find out who my next guest will be, please stay informed and updated with my Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. Till next time, bye for now.
Please welcome the quite extraordinary talent of TJ Higgs.
Evening, everyone. Oh, thank you for keeping up that energy. It's great. See, the better energy you do, the better I do. Yes? Shall I just get on with it then? All right then. Okay, I've got a bloke called Charlie, or Charlie means something to him, and he's naughty.
Hi.
Oh, nice voice. Hello.
Hello.
Would you mind standing up, sir, so that I can have a proper look at you?
Sure.
What do you understand then? Do you understand this man?
He was my twin brother.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Oh. Please don't think he's broken the connection with you, you know, because you two together definitely were double trouble, eh? He would instigate it and you'd have to follow along.
Well, no, he'd get me in trouble.
Oh. He doesn't agree, sir, and you go home and he don't have to, so I'm sticking with him. Keep that heart beating and know that your brother's right beside you.
Thank you.
Okay?